Okay, let's pan the audience here. There's our audience. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about obesity and in young children and adolescents and the impact that it has in their lives and how it can be prevented. So to begin with, today's children may not outlive their parents. And this is because of the dramatic increase in childhood obesity and its related diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. I want to talk to you today about how we can prevent this trend from increasing and what we can do about better education for all children and adolescents. Working with students in the educational and medical field, I see this trend and it's alarming at how fast it is going. The main points I'd like to talk to you today about are going to be, I will explain the severity of this epidemic and its implications. I'm also going to share with you the increased education will be able to solve this problem and who can get this education, how to facilitate it. So to start, let's start with the numbers. Childhood obesity is increasing at such an alarming rate, along with diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. And obesity has been on the rise for the past 30 years. According to the 2018 article, Obesity Facts on the CDC website, it tells us in the United States, the percentage of children and adolescents affected by obesity has more than tripled since the 1970s. Data from 2015 to 2016 show that nearly 1 in 5 school-aged children and young people aged 6 to 19 years in the United States has obesity. A child with obesity is more likely to have obesity as an adult. The rise is associated with a lack of exercise, poor nutrition, and also a lack of sleep. There's an increase in childhood diabetes and blood pressure and cardiovascular diseases. In an article, Childhood Overweight and Obesity Affecting Factors by Williams and Green, it states, such conditions related to obesity include asthma, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and sleep apnea. Cardiovascular disease risk factors in the form of elevated total cholesterol, triglycerides, insulin levels, and increased blood pressure were found in 60% of obese children aged 5 to 10 years. The health-related quality of life in obese children is so poor that it is similar to that of children with cancer in comparison to healthy children. These are conditions that would be difficult for any adult to deal with, let alone a child. Overweight children tend to become overweight adults and continue this. Their risk of dying young from that stress that obesity puts on their bodies is high. Another issue that they face is poor mental health. So depression, anxiety, the risk of suicide are higher in obese children. And in an article today of Psychology Today by Willow Lawson, it titled Obesity Depression Link, that explains depression in children is often linked with obesity. The longer a child is overweight, the more he or she is at risk for depression and other mental health disorders. Obese kids are 5.5 times more likely to have impaired quality of life than healthy kids, putting their life experience on par with that of kids undergoing chemotherapy for cancer. What can be done about this? The solution starts with education. So children and young adults need to have more education about healthy lifestyles. One required health class or PE class is not sufficient to give them the knowledge that they need on healthy living. We need more classes that talk about exercise, general wellness, and why these are important to these kids. So according to the American Diabetes Association, it says, that tells us why these classes are important. They say the need for schools to take a leading role in the promotion of healthy living has been increasingly important given the overall decline in the physical fitness, the rise of obesity among our nation's youth, and the rising number of pediatric patients who are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Our Overweight and Obesity Legislative Task Force found that schools should serve as models of healthy behavior by promoting good nutritional habits and physical activity. So we need to advocate for the our children. And we need them to be able to go home and advocate for themselves with their families and teach them what they have learned. Now, how are we going to give this education to these kids? It's through more education in the classroom. We need to ask our local health teams and our schools to join forces and create programs that would focus on healthy living. And one way to do that would be to have after-school programs and health and assemblies that would be health-related. Another way to get the needed education, that the schools could offer more classes centered on health and fitness. Now, these classes need to be able to teach lifestyle behavior. They need to talk about the medical issues that these children would face if they are obese, and they need to talk about weight management and how these children can be prepared to overcome this. Participation and funding and instruction for these classes could come from a variety of sources, such as insurance companies, medical professionals and their businesses, volunteers, and state education funds. Another quote from the American Diabetes Association tells us that we encourage all state legislatures to support the Overweight and Obesity Task Force recommendations, which include improving school nutrition programs, increasing physical fitness opportunities, and developing appropriate screening programs. Now, in conclusion, children need this education in order to be aware of what could happen to them and the problems that they will face being obese and the health risks that are involved. If they receive enough education with the necessary instruction about healthy living, we should be able to reduce the number of obese children and the risk factors that they have and give them an opportunity for a better life. Thank you. Okay, let's see. I need to pan the audience again. Let's see. I didn't run them off. Okay,